So here's the thing, in the coming months I've got a number of my athletes who are going to be taking part in some run 100 mile training week challenges. There's been obviously a lot of ultra races have been cancelled, and to give everybody a challenge, a lot of these races are now putting up these challenges for you to have a go at. What I think I need to do is I need to experience what it's like to run a 100 mile training week so that I can better guide my athletes through that challenge when it comes to that time. So whether it's how to structure the week with the mileage, whether it's about what to do with a bit of rehabilitation between each session, whether it's something to do with hydration, nutrition, whatever it is, I need to guide these athletes through this process. So I think the best way for me to do that is for me to have a go at doing it. So today is Sunday the 14th of June, and starting tomorrow morning on Monday I'm going to start and try and do a 100 mile training week and see if I can cope with and hopefully pick up some little tricks, some tips of the trade that I can then use with my athletes when they're trying to do these challenges and get them through it in better condition. So today on the Sunday I'm just doing 3 or 4 miles, nice and easy trails, just as a bit of a shakeout run really, no pressure, and having a little think about how I'm going to split up the coming week. So one thing I'm going to do during this week is I'm going to put together a video kind of just documenting my thoughts, documenting how I've got on, documenting the bits when I'm obviously going to fall apart, and hopefully this might be helpful for somebody out there, but if nothing else it'll allow me to get my thoughts organised so that I can guide the athletes through this process as best I can. So that wraps up the little shakeout run. Looking forward to doing this whole process. Going to be quite interesting. See how I cope. Looking forward to tomorrow. Boom. Morning. So day 1, run 1, and this is the view from the gym window this morning. Absolutely stunning. It's going to be a real chore this run, isn't it? So already we've had to make a slight alteration to the plan. Originally I planned to do 10 miles kind of aerobic base level run this morning, and I was going to do a 5 mile easy recovery run this afternoon or this evening, but plans have changed, so I've had to readjust. So what I'm doing now is I'm out early o'clock this morning, and we're going to do about 7 miles maybe, just around by the lake shore and so on, and back up to the house. And then this afternoon, or probably more likely early evening, I'll try and get out and do around about 8 miles. Probably again it'll be at aerobic base training intensity, but can't complain with this. It's going to be a gorgeous day, it's going to be a gorgeous run. Let's do this. So we're loving this. What a gorgeous morning for it. I think one thing that we need to say straight from the start in this little project is that this is not something you can necessarily just go from, oh, I'm running 30 miles a week, I'm going to have a go at running 100 miles a week and see what happens. I'm sure that a lot of runners will probably cope with the cardiovascular side of this. So heart, lungs, blood system, you know, you'll feel okay. But what will break down will be your musculoskeletal system. It'll, let's be fair, it'll be in bits. And it'll probably take you, you know, you'll get injuries, you'll have, you know, God knows what problems happening in the future. So really this is for those that have been training for a decent marathon time and have got that conditioning, or those that have been training for an ultra marathon and have got the conditioning that comes with that. Not something to just on a whim have a quick go at doing. Please bear that in mind. So, 8 miles done, a little bit sticky, but really enjoyed that. Yeah, so got to get hydrated, got to get cleaned up, get through the day, and then later on I'm going to be aiming for around about 7 miles again, that same kind of pace. Might go into the woods, up on Latrigg behind me here, and get 15-ish miles done for the day. Good start though, looking forward to it. So, day 1, run 2, done. One thing I've learned today is when you've uploaded your video clips from your GoPro in the morning, don't leave the GoPro on, because then when you're about a mile into your second run, the batteries won't be flat and therefore you can record that run. So, Muppet moment. It's been really humid here today, and then probably late afternoon there was a massive thunderstorm came through. So I felt like I've been fighting hydration a little bit during the day. But having said that, the second run this evening was after the thunderstorm had gone through, the temperatures dropped a little bit, it was drizzling while I was running, it was actually really nice to run it. It was so much more comfortable than this morning, I should say. I also decided in this evening's run that I wasn't just going to stay flat. I went up into the paths on the slopes of Latrigg and played around a bit more in the on the hills, which it's just so much nicer for me personally. Other thing that I've bossed from today is that I'm going to keep rotating shoes a lot, so that I'm not I'm giving the shoes a chance to rebound back after a training session. Give it at least, you know, kind of 24 hours before I use the same pair of shoes again. I've got plenty, it's not a problem. But I think the main thing I've learned from today, it's got to be hydration. And when I'm sick of doing that, I need to do a bit more hydration. My voice is a little bit dry. I'm definitely, like this afternoon, I actually took a drinks bottle with me while I ran, even though it was only an hour and a quarter run. I think I've just got to really battle that all the time during this week. On the plus side, legs felt pretty good this evening. Bashed out another 7.5 miles, so I've done 15.5 miles today. I think I'm going to try and do 10 tomorrow morning, so I'll probably go around the lake, which is a nice run. That is on the flat, and then I can just do 5 or 6 tomorrow evening, nice and relaxed. If I feel really good in the morning, I might try and tag a bit more on, but we'll play that one by ear. So far, day one's been pretty good. Bring on the rest of the week. Well, fairly obviously we're going to enjoy this run. What a morning. Worth getting up for. Absolutely stunning. So, we're at the bottom end of the lake, done about 6 miles so far. Legs feel pretty good actually. Took me maybe 2 or 3 miles to get warmed up, but coming all the way along the edge there, oh my gosh, fantastic. Going to skip back along the far side. I normally do a session with a foam roller, a little pain stick and a ball to shove into the muscles. I usually do that of an evening. I might end up doing a little 20 minutes or half an hour some point this afternoon when I've finished putting up the hanging baskets for Mrs. Troman, just to get myself a little bit better prepared for going out back again later. Good thing about today is it's a gorgeous day, but it's nowhere near as humid as it was yesterday. Much more pleasant temperature running. I'm not saying it's not hot, but nothing like it was yesterday. So we'll get this run finished, we'll get the hanging baskets up, we'll get a session with a foam roller, and we'll do it all again later on. Lovely. So that's that one done. Nearly 11 miles. Very, very hot towards the end. Very sticky, very sweaty, but it's in the bag, it's done. Time to get cleaned up, time to rehydrate, time to eat, and then we'll truck out again later on this evening. On and on. So back again. Now we're on day 2, run 2. Again dodging the storms after the heat this morning. So, because I ended up doing a little bit more than planned this morning, so I did like basically 11 miles this morning. I want to try and average around about 15 miles per day. So, I only need to go out and do about 3.5 miles now, which is a good thing because my legs are feeling a little bit beaten up now. I definitely need to spend a good half hour, 45 minutes with the roller tonight to ease off a bit of tension. I think my fascia around my calf muscles is a bit sticky because it's dehydrated, so I need to work on that and ease that off a little bit. I'm also going to make this very much a recovery run, to take it down one notch from a normal aerobic base run, make it super easy. Just going to walk up any of the hills, nice easy jog on the rest of the time, and hopefully just get a bit of fresh blood flowing into my muscles, and then we'll see where we are tomorrow and what we're going to do, what we're going to get done tomorrow. We might even try do 15 in one go tomorrow. Give a little bit more, you know, just have to put the pressure on myself just once in the day, see how that goes. So, on and on and on. Love this little bit. Could be in Chamonix. So, that was exactly what I needed. Super easy, super short, shake my leg. So, just got half a mile to jog back up the road, finish that run off. So that will be bang on 3.5 miles. It's all I wanted, all I needed. Still undecided how to do tomorrow, but we'll work that out in the morning, depending on how my legs feel, depending on what else I've got to do work-wise. Job's a good one. Day 2 finished. So, day 3, run 1, the only run of the day. Been waiting for the thunderstorms to ease off a little bit. Looking quite nice now, although that's not looking so good. Let's concentrate on that bit over there. So I decided not to go high up. I was going to go around Glendora Terrace today. I feel got some niggles today. My calves are really beaten up. So I spent a lot of time last night trying to massage them out a little bit. And then woke up this morning thinking, oh, maybe this whole 100-mile thing isn't for me. But then they've eased off during the day. I've been rubbing them a little bit while I've been doing some work. Doesn't feel too bad now, so I'm going to keep going. But early today I did make the decision that if I think that this is not working, I think if this is going to tip me over the edge and give me some kind of injury, then I'm quite happy to abandon it. I'm quite happy to say that's enough. I'm certainly learning lots of things for when some of my athletes try to take on this challenge, so it's been worthwhile. But we'll wait and see. I feel like I'm back in the game now. Wednesday, I'm going to try and get 12 miles in now, but I'm just going to have to kind of wiggle low level down to the lake, on the woods below Lattrig, through Great Wood, that kind of thing. See if I can get 12 miles in the bag and then get another good session on my cast tonight. So let's see if we can get this done. Please note we're going for White Sock Wednesday. It's the law. Only one spot this to me, isn't there? Ran on the path to Ashness Bridge, below Raven Crag. Just goes to show how much slower it is doing everything on off-road. I mean, I know that's a very, very technical path, but you know, I've been going nearly 50 minutes now, running at a decent pace, and I've only done 4 miles. You know, with the climbing and the technicality of the terrain, but a far more enjoyable 4 miles than running on the flat or, heaven forbid, on the road. So I'm actually quite pleased because my legs have perked up now. Springing along quite nicely. I still think I've got a lot of work to do on them tonight, but it's a lot more encouraging than it was an hour ago when I thought I was really going to struggle. So on, drop down to the lake and see if we can get it up to 12 miles for the full run. Feel a lot better about myself now. So, just about finished, about a mile to go to make it up to 12 miles. It's been a game of 3/3, I think. First 3 miles took me a while to get warmed up, get my legs loosened off, but then all the way through the middle I felt really good. Bouncing along, got some lovely technical trails to run on. I was a right happy puppy. And then just these last 2 miles I've become particularly hungry. In fact, I'll go so far as to say I'm Hank Marvin. So I need to just do this last mile, get back up the hill, and then get some fodder in me. It's good because I feel, compared to what I felt like this morning when I wasn't sure I was going to be able to complete this challenge. Still not sure, but I feel a bit happier now with where I am. The fact that I have managed to get these 12 miles done without too much stress. Get working with the roller again tonight and do it all again tomorrow, I guess. See you tomorrow. Afternoon. So, day 4, run 1. One run today. The body is an amazing thing. I felt pretty ropey yesterday for certainly the first part, good in the middle and then absolutely butchered by the end, but today I feel really good, bouncing along, no problems, legs feel good. It's not as humid again today, still a little bit but not too bad. So the plan is, couldn't go through the week without doing some kind of a run round Glendalough Terror, my favourite running route. So I'm gonna go out to Skidder House, which is through the Col through there, and then come back along the path which runs halfway up the side of Lonscale there. So I'm aiming for about 2 hours 20, something like that. I'll just see what the mileage is. Probably going to be between 10 and 12 miles. Back to that thing about adding climbing and adding off-road just means it takes so much longer to do all the distances, but a bonny day. I'm going to enjoy this one, clocking a few times on the way around. So I'm just coming up towards Skidder House, and I thought I'd just pause here for people aspiring to a Bob Graham round. I'm slap bang in the middle of leg 1. So that's the summit of Skidder up there, which is your first point. There's Skidder House, where you drop down on the next ridge further away from me, and then the second hill is here, which is Calva or Great Calva, and then you've got a very steep drop down into the Coldew Valley, and then get your slogging legs on up over Mungrisdale Common, and eventually you're going to get up to the top of Blencathra, which is there, and then straight down the other side into Threlkeld. Leg one done. How hard can it be? Right, well, we're just finishing off. It's really weird how, having been pretty tired during the week, that was the best I've felt running so far. Fantastic, really enjoyed that. It's going to be just over 12 miles when I get in. I've got about 3/4 of a mile to go, probably about 2 hours 10. One thing that I've definitely learned, which I think this has been a bigger undertaking than I thought it was going to be. You know, if I can bang out a 60-mile week in the normal run of training, I thought it wouldn't be that much more difficult to commit to a 100-mile week. But I must admit, I have found it a bit of a mental commitment, knowing that it's hanging over me, that I've got to get these miles done. And the other thing about changing from doing all of my thoughts normally are in hours of training rather than how many miles I'm actually running, and I found it a bit more pressurized thinking in miles, and I'm trying to, you know, almost getting to the point where I'm going, well, I ought to stay on the flat because it would be easier and quicker to do the miles, but I don't enjoy running on the flat. I enjoy running on the hills more. So when I come to talking to some of my athletes later on in the year, in a month's time or so, when they're going to be undertaking something like this, I definitely need to get that across to them beforehand, that it's as much of a mental challenge and it's a bigger commitment than perhaps they think, but we'll see. So far so good. Do it all again tomorrow, a little bit further, hopefully the weather will be kind. Bring it on. Bit of a fail on the views today, never mind. Day 5, run 1 run for the day. I've decided, I had a really good run yesterday, loved it. I've got a slightly easier day today on Friday, so I'm aiming for about 8.5 miles. Nice easy pace, nothing too brutal. And then over the weekend, so Saturday, I'm going to do about 17-18 miles. Got a nice route planned out to Wat Endleth and back round from the other side of the lake. And then on Sunday, to finish it off, I'm going to do, hopefully, go around the Ullswater Way, which is a 20-mile route, absolutely gorgeous route, all the way around Ullswater. So I'll drive over to there, do that route, and that should then bring me nicely up to 100 miles for the week. I think it's been a good idea to ad-lib a little bit along the way rather than commit at the start of the week. I'm going to do this and this, because my body has definitely reacted to this different to how I thought it would initially. It's been, you know, it has been a tough week so far, but I'm still going. My legs are actually feeling pretty decent, so I'm going to see if I can get this finished off. Relatively easy one today, about another hour to go. That'll do me. Bath and more food. So, just got about a mile to go, back up the road. Don't want to film on the road. So, That all went without incident. Felt reasonably chipper. Get that run ticked off. Happy with that. Tomorrow, about 17 miles out to Wat Endleth. Should be a nice run. Enjoy that one. And then finishing all off with a rousing run around Ullswater. Hopefully have some nice views. Bang out 20 miles on Sunday. Done and dusted. Monday, drinking coffee all day. No running. Looking forward to that. Afternoon, here we go. Day 6. Run 1 long run for the day. Just heading up to almost at the top of Waller Crag now. Keswick is just down in that dip down there. My house is over there, and what we're doing today, we're heading from here down to Ashness Bridge again, but this time carrying on out to Wat Endleth. Going to climb out of Wat Endleth and across down, drop down into Rosswaite, and then basically run the Allerdale Ramble all the way back around the far side of the lake to Portinscale and back round into Keswick. So I'm hoping it's going to be round about 17 miles, maybe a little bit over, which will then leave me with the Ullswater Way tomorrow, full loop all the way around that, which will be 20 miles, and that should be the 100. Can see a light at the end of the tunnel now. I must admit, you can probably tell by my ramblings that sort of Wednesday I was a bit, sorry, not Wednesday, was it Tuesday or Wednesday when I was feeling a bit, not sure whether I'm going to manage this. Feeling quite fatigued and legs were sore, and then I've kind of turned it around since then. And the weird thing is, the whole week has been a little bit like doing an ultra, where you get high points, you get, you know, really feeling really good at times and bouncing, and at other times you're really struggling, and you've got to kind of dig yourself out of the hole. So it's been quite strange. Bar incident now, I think I'll get there. It's been a good experiment. I'm not sure it's something I'll do again, but we shall see. Well, that was good fun. I've forgotten how much fun that path from the top end of Surprise View all the way along here towards Wat Endleth, nearly there now. It's just so much fun, gorgeous alongside the stream. Oh yeah, I enjoyed that. Nearly at Wat Endleth now. So, Faithless, Insomnia, is there a better song for running to? Discuss, 20 marks. What a banging tune. So, day 7, run 1, change of plan. I woke up this morning and my legs, particularly my calves and my feet, were feeling a bit too beaten up for my liking after yesterday's long one at the end of obviously what's been a big week. So I've had a change of plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split today into 2, and this morning I'm just going to be going out and getting, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles done, maybe a bit more, take some pressure off the day, get my legs moving a little bit. I've also got quite a lot of other work to do, some school work, and I've got some coaching plans to send out as well. So I'm going to do those during the afternoon, and then this evening I'm going to get out and do whatever I've got left to finish off the 100-mile week. So it's already, even a mile or so in, I already feel a little bit better. But I'm doing an unusual one today in the fact that I'm acting as a little terrier dog, and we're going out for a walk with Mrs. Troman, who's just on her way up. There she comes. And we're going for a walk, and I'm going to be running around adding some extra bits on just to get my mileage up a little bit. So that's the plan, all change, but still very much in the game. So Terrier's been let off the leash for a little bit, so Tracy's walking back down in towards Keswick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just potter probably out to Ashness again, drop down to the lake and run back via the lake. Just now that I've got going, I might just try and tick off an extra couple of miles this morning. Just means I've got less to do this afternoon. Might even mean that this afternoon's reduces down to a Glendora Terra run to finish off, my favourite. It's really beautiful running with these the kind of little bits of rain, little bits of sun, really dappled light. It's gorgeous. I'm just heading back in towards Keswick. It's going to be, in the end, it's going to be 7.5, maybe even 8 miles by the time we get home. That's good, because that means this afternoon, come this evening, I can have a little potter around Glendora Terra. Job's a good one, done and dusted. It's been a good week. A few ups, a few downs, but nearly done. Afternoon, day 7, run 2, final run. So getting 8 miles done this morning was a bit of a bonus, so that's left me out to do 12 and a bit of short change. So where else would you go but Glendora Terra? So around Glendora Terra with an out and back to Skidder House. Should be around about 12 miles. First time in my life, if the run comes up a little bit short, I'm going to have to add a bit on. Wouldn't normally do that. Not normally worried about miles, but this is all very different. So, legs aren't feeling too bad still. I'm pleased with, particularly my quads. Quads have been fantastic all week. Even though I've done a fair amount of climbing and obviously descending, quads are pretty good. Calves are completely shot, which again is putting a bit of tension on the Achilles tendon. Nothing too bad, but I definitely need to see my man Jacob Tonkin. I've made an appointment. He's going to be opening up in the next couple of weeks. Lots of special measures in place, but I can't wait for him to give my calves a bit pummeling. I'm working on them each night, but it's not the same. So looking forward to seeing you, Jacob. are, about 6 miles in, up at Skidder House. Pretty much all downhill back to Keswick. You know what? I think I'm actually going to manage to do this bloody thing. So we're a couple of days after the finish of the 100-mile week, and I just thought I'd put a few comments down, maybe a few things that I've learned, things that went right, things that went wrong, and hopefully if you're going to try something like this you might get a few ideas and things that might help you along the way. The most striking thing for me was that it was actually way harder than I thought it was going to be. As somebody who can, I can put out a 60-mile week without too much trouble. Okay, I'll be a bit tired, I realise that, but it's not too bad. I thought going up to 100 as a one-off, splitting up loads and loads of different runs during the week, I didn't think it would be that bad. But in the end I found it a lot tougher, both physically and psychologically, than I thought it would be, and it panned out a bit like an ultra run, in the fact that there were days when I felt absolutely fantastic, or runs when I felt really, really good and I was buzzing, I couldn't wait to do a bit more, and then there was other ones when I could have quite easily not gone out, just stayed in the house and sat around watching telly or something, and you have to kind of get past that each time, and it's exactly what you have to do in ultra. The bits of an ultra race where you're running really, really well and it's just dead easy and life couldn't be any better, and then there are other times in ultra when you're rock bottom and you've got to somehow dig yourself out of that hole. And I've given a bit of thought as to why it maybe felt like that, and I think one of the things is that when you do an ultra, say you're doing a 100-mile ultra, you've tapered in, you're really, really psyched up for it, and so mentally you're kind of ready for that really big push, that one big massive effort that's going to take you, 24 hours, 40 hours, whatever it's going to be, but at least you're ready for that. Whereas doing this 100-mile training week, I had to get myself up psychologically. In the end I think I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe about 10 sessions, maybe even 11 sessions during the week, and you've got to get yourself up for each one of those. When you're tired, when there's something else you want or need to do, you've got to somehow lift yourself up, and I found that more difficult than perhaps I thought it would be. And what played into that, I think, was initially I decided I was going to try and sort of stay quite low, stay on the flat, just to get through the whole thing quite quicker, hopefully. Whereas quite early on I actually decided I just wasn't enjoying running on the flat and trying to going around the lake and stuff like that. For me, I like running up and down hills and running in really technical terrain and really gnarly stuff and rocky and all the rest of it, and that's what floats my boat, that's what I enjoy doing. So quite quickly on in the week I stopped trying to run on the flat and went back to running in tricky terrain and up and down hills, and hopefully you'll have seen some of that in the video. And what that meant was that the actual time commitment for doing it went up massively, because running 7 or 8 miles on the flat is infinitely quicker than running 7 or 8 miles on hills and technical terrain. I'm going from running a comfortable 8-minute mile pace on the flat, and then I'm running in difficult terrain, and I could be 13 or 14-minute mile in, and I'm still putting in a lot of effort to do that. So in the end, it took something like 17 or 18 hours to do the whole 100 miles for me. So that was obviously a really big commitment to make during that week. And I think if you haven't got the time available for that, then you're going to have to think about doing it on relatively easy terrain, just so you can get the miles in, not because you're copping out, but just for the fact that it's going to take you a long time otherwise, and you may or may not have a lifestyle that allows you to get that commitment done. Something to think about if you're going to have a go anyway. Something from me personally, I mentioned it in the video, I think maybe even in the introduction, that I'm not a high mileage runner. So, you know, generally I can tick over at 40 to 50 miles a week, and then I can put it up to 60 is probably a bit of a sweet spot for high mileage for me. That's probably quite a lot of time. It's probably 12, 13 hours, something like that. But actually the mileage thing, going up in mileage, was, for me, again, I think it was probably psychologically, it was hard suddenly to have to start thinking about mileage instead of thinking about time. I do all my training based on time volume, not on mileage volume. And in fact, all my athletes that I coach that train for anything off-road do all of their training based on time volume, not on mileage volume, because running 5 miles off-road is very different to running 5 miles on road. And I just felt it took a little bit of time for me to get my head around the fact that I had to base everything for this week on mileage rather than on time. And I did find that, maybe just because I haven't done that almost ever in my running life, I did find it quite difficult to start glancing up. You know, I was going out for a run, and I was sort of thinking, well, I'm going to run 12 miles now, instead of going out and thinking I'm going to run 2 hours, I'm going to run 3 hours. And that was a very different way of thinking for me during the week. And it's something that maybe you need to bear in mind, that if you're going to take on something like this, that you need to change your perspective or change your view while you're doing this. Some other things, and I mentioned this quite early on, I did it on a week where it was generally quite warm, and it was also quite high humidity, and all week I struggled with hydration. I felt it became a real chore to try and get enough liquid in me to allow me to complete the task, because I was fighting hydration all the time. I was starting a lot of my training runs already dehydrated. So what I started doing was, even on the shorter ones, I was taking drinks with me. I wore a pack almost the whole week, so I've always got a couple of bottles with me. I tried to drink them. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I was drinking. I just felt like I spent a week of either running or drinking. But again, if you're going to take on something like this and it's going to be warm, I think you need to be aware of that, and what an impact dehydration may have on your week. I know I started to feel things like the fascia, particularly in my calf muscles, the fascia around the muscles were becoming a little bit sticky because it was dehydrated, and it was like adhering to the muscles, and I wasn't getting that free movement for my muscles. It was definitely impacting. Once I got running, I was okay, but initially each day, each running, each training session that I did, I felt that it was I was having to kind of loosen things up instead of starting off in a good position. And then perhaps even a more obvious thing is nutrition. If you're going to do something like this, you're going to burn an awful lot of calories, and therefore you're going to have to make sure that you're fueling correctly. And your things like, if you're going to do double days, so if you're going to do 2 runs in a day, they're probably going to be, you know, in the region of 8 hours apart, shall we say. When you're doing something like that, you need to make sure that you're using that kind of 20-minute window directly after one session to get in some protein, get in some carbohydrate, and start the kind of the recovery process in order to be ready to do it again 8 or 9 hours later. It becomes slightly less of an issue if you're doing something and it's going to be 12, 13, 14 hours later, and it's going to be the following day, then that 20-minute in window is slightly less of an issue. But if it's going to be a double day, I think you definitely need to be thinking about that. Something else that I found was really useful was doing some kind of rehabilitation exercises, drills each evening. So I got, at the start of lockdown, in fact, I got my physio, Jacob Tonkin Massage Therapies, check him out, to make a little video of some little simple activities, some little drills or little exercises that we could all do whilst lockdown is on. So I can then post this to all my athletes, just to stay on top of niggles. Obviously it's not the same as going to see a physio, but it had a few little ideas, and I kind of religiously did those every single night for kind of half an hour, 45 minutes, just lying on the, while watching telly of an evening or something. And I think that definitely helped. And in fact, I've now got into that routine, and I'm just going to keep doing it pretty much forever now. So you need to kind of stay on top of those little niggles, because something I said early on in one of the videos, this is not a test of your cardiovascular capabilities. This whole thing is a test of your musculoskeletal system, and what's going to cause you problems is going to be breakdown of your soft tissue injury, so your muscles, your fascia, your tendons, your ligaments, all that kind of connective tissue. Those are the things that are going to cause you to fail in this, or you will finish it but you'll be in a real mess after, and you're potentially going to be injured. So staying on top of those niggles all the way through the process, again, is going to be really, really important. Again, from the video, you'll have seen that as the week went on, I did actually adapt my plan, because you just don't know how your body's going to react to this. You don't know how life is going to get in the way, whether work's going to get in the way, whether family can get in the way. So there were days, kind of on about Wednesday or Thursday, I think, I was thinking, right, I'm going to need to have one much easier day amongst all this, rather than trying to average about 15 miles a day, which is my original plan. It was way better for me to throw in a day where I just did about 8 miles, really slow and easy, just sort of potted along. I know that meant that later on I had to do a little bit more, but I also felt that psychologically, as I got towards the end of the week, I was ready to do a little bit more because I knew it was nearly finished. So throwing that very easy day in was a good idea. Potentially I could even have possibly done a complete rest day, and I still think I would have managed it overall. So maybe adapting as you go is a good idea. Having the option of giving yourself the option of doing some double days, morning and evening sessions, as opposed to one longer session, is a good way to mix things up. You may even have, and I did think about this, about doing a day where you might do a triple, but really easy. So 5 in the morning, 5 at lunchtime, 5 in the evening. That might be an easier way of getting through the 15 than doing one 15-mile run. Something else that you can think about. Another sort of tip that I think I read this somewhere else, that somebody had done this, and I think it was a good idea. I very definitely and purposefully rotated the shoes that I did my training in. I wanted to make sure that any one particular pair of shoes had at least 24 hours between their use. So that was just giving the midsole a little bit of time to bounce back and get that cushioning that you might want over the period, particularly as your legs are getting more tired in the week. So I think rotating your shoes is going to be quite important if you're able to do that. It also meant that you're less likely to get particular hot spots from any of your trainers as you go along. Something to add into the equation as you're going along. And I think one final thing that I would say is that even if you're the sort of person who thinks, actually, well, I can run a 100-mile race, so therefore this should be relatively easy, I think you need to view it as a serious challenge, and get yourself psyched up for it. Certainly have a good little taper going into it, as if it is still going into a race, so that you're physically and mentally prepared to go on and do this. Don't assume that just because you're doing lots of small runs it's going to be easy. It's not. I found it quite tricky. Hopefully you won't. Maybe it's just me, but I think I did get that kind of not quite the same degree of satisfaction as at the end of the week, but I definitely did have that smug inner glow that I managed to do this. I think this whole process is something that if you're in a position to be able to do this, i.e. you're already reasonably well conditioned, you're doing the kind of training you would need to do a decent marathon, or you've been training specifically to do an ultra marathon and you want to do this as a challenge, I think it's good to go. I think it's definitely something you should build up towards if you're not in that conditioning situation. If you're a 30-mile a week runner, this is not something you should really go for, because the risk of injury is just too great. You want to be, I'm a few days after it now, I'm nicely recovered, I'm ready to get back on with my normal training because I'm conditioned to do this. I don't think it's something you should do on a whim, but if you are conditioned, if you are prepared, it was a good challenge. I enjoyed doing it. I had to fight at times, but I think it was worth doing. I really enjoyed that, and I also think now I'm in a better position to coach my runners who are going to take on this challenge, and guide them through that week. Certainly talk to them beforehand, get them prepared properly, and then hopefully they can enjoy the week as I've done. So if you are going to try and do something like this, best of luck. Enjoy it as much as you can, but be prepared for the highs and the lows exactly the same as you would if you were in an ultra. Best of luck.